And in question 2, he says, can you describe what you call the psychic attack component and tell me why it is strong at this particular time? Ra says, we shall elect not to retrace previously given information, but rather elect to note that the psychic attack upon this instrument is at a constant level as long as it continues in this particular service. Variations towards the distortion of intensity of attack occur due to the opportunities presented by the entity in any weakness. At this particular nexus, the entity has been dealing with the distortion which you call pain for some time, as you call this measurement, and this has a cumulative weakening effect upon physical energy levels. This creates a particularly favorable target for opportunity, and the entity of which we have previously spoken has taken this opportunity to attempt to be of service in its own way. So, first of all, Ra is asked to describe the attack. They have talked about this attack already, so that's why they say we're not going to repeat what we have said before. We're going to rather elect to note that the physical attack is at a constant level as long as Carla continues to be of service here. And they go on and saying that variations of the distortion of the attack, of the intensity, are because of the opportunities presented by the entity. This first little part of the paragraph reminds us that the attacks from negative entities, if we can use this language, which I don't like very much, but this is what we have. These negative entities use a weakness that we may have to make their incursion here. Yes? So that specific weakness is what's going to cause the opening for the negative entity to do any work. So that's what Ra is saying, and then they say at this particular time the entity basically has been having pain, and this cumulative weakening effect, which is the pain, has created a favorable target of opportunity for the entity, the negative entity, to attempt to be of service in its own way, which is interesting that they go from attack to saying service in its own way, which is the service to self. This is what they do. So it's a good point. I think that sums it up. And the next part they say, it is fortunate for the ongoing vitality of this contact that the instrument is a strong-willed entity with little tendency towards the distortion called, among your peoples, hysteria, since the dizzying effect of this attack has been constant at times disruptive for several of your diurnal periods. However, this particular entity is adapting well to the situation without undue distortions towards fear. Thus, the psychic attack is not successful, but does have some draining influence upon this instrument. Now, this is a great point, actually, and kudos, of course, to Carla for being so strong-willed in her attempt to be of service and not become fearful, scared, angry, confused, and so on. Because you see, if you can take everything that's happening to you with a touch of grace and appreciation, forget about what your condition may be, or forget about the expectations that you may have about yourself. Just enjoy every single part of your day for what it is. Then you lessen anything that may be happening to you. And I mean, I don't wish to say that we're always being attacked by negative entities. This is why I said at the beginning of this answer that I don't like the term negative entities that much, Because just like using the higher self, of using the creator and anything within our language, I'm very subtle with the way I attempt to use my language when explaining spiritual things, because they may allow for us to create, even if it's very faint, the image of a different self other than us. And I must say and remind you that anything that you hear from me has this perception of unity. It is how I'd like to see the world. It's my worldview. And this may not resonate with a lot of people because it's easier to understand as a separate subject, and that's fine. I do use the language that we have, but whenever possible, I try to remind of the unity behind everything. And of course, I'm not just saying, forget anything that happens, roll a one, and go through that, escape mechanism. I'm saying that in this case, the negative entity, let's collapse it into ourselves. The negative entity is that possibility that we have within ourselves to allow these separation thoughts, these feelings of separateness. And the negative entity, if you want to see it as a separate being or a separate self, only means a different aspect of your own self. And of course, when you have a weakness in your body, in your mind, then the negative entity or the weakness of you seeing yourself as a whole will be exacerbated. So these things, and this I believe is part of the balancing of the universe. You see, if you polarize too much, the nature of the universe is unpolarized. That's just how it is. The only polarizing aspects of the universe, it's our minds. Our minds are designed to be this way because this is how we as creator can experience reality or the illusion, depending on how you want to see it, right? So in the pursuit of unity, one must not even consider polarization, because polarization is just the different ways in which we can achieve unity. So am I saying that this is possible in third density? Yes, I am saying this because you are not a separate being, once again, that needs to accomplish a sort of polarization in order to become something else. You already are the creator within yourself. And so that's why we're not incomplete in terms of energy centers. We have them all, and we can develop them depending on how we wish. So I prefer the view of, let's call it the top-down view of the one being that we all are. And from there, I like to explore. Vast majority of people prefer the bottom top, which is fine too. It's completely acceptable and feasible to work with. And that would be through we can even call it a tantric approach to things, which is using the body and the mind to achieve this sense of unity. I believe that we can already see directly into the sense of unity, and it's just a different approach. No one is better than the other. I just prefer to speak and view the world this way. It's just my predilection. So